And staying in the United States, President-elect Donald Trump has suggested that Mexico and Canada should become U.S. states if they want to continue receiving subsidies. During his interview with NBC News on Sunday, the president-elect ranted about U.S. trade deficits as a result of the free trade agreement between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico.
The answer is simple. You reinstate remain in Mexico. I told the president that at the White House again. Said he couldn't do it. I said, that's not true. Well, Mexico doesn't want that. Mr. President?
A dispute between the president-elect of the U.S. and Mexico's president over a phone call. Who agreed to what and what it may mean for the U.S.-Mexico relationship.
This morning, in response to President-elect Donald Trump's threat to impose tariffs on Mexico, actually. But Jim, as you know, all of these things are intermingled. Mexico's president was very firm. She called out President-elect Donald Trump, saying that both Mexico and the United States collaborate on a lot of different levels, including economically.
What if we told you that Mexico could deceive the United States into believing it aligns with the West while secretly forging deals with China? Mexico is walking a geopolitical tightrope, balancing between two of the world's largest superpowers, China and the US. Remarkably, it has managed to maintain its equilibrium. On one side, Mexico enjoys China's substantial investments in its manufacturing and infrastructure. On the other side, it faces the US, with its unpredictable trade policies and tariff threats that could undermine Mexico's meticulously crafted economic strategy. Historically, Mexico has been closely tied to the US through decades of trade agreements and economic policies. However, China has entered the scene and shows no signs of retreating. The pressing question is, can Mexico sustain its economic position in the global arena while managing the dynamics between these two giants? Or will it falter under the strain of US tariffs? Let's dive in. Let's be upfront. Without Chinese investment, Mexico's economy would suffer greatly. It's akin to a car running on fumes. Sooner or later, it will break down. Over the last decade, China has become a crucial economic partner for Mexico, particularly in manufacturing, automotive, and infrastructure sectors. Why? Chinese investments fill critical gaps in Mexico's production capabilities, providing both the capital and technology essential for remaining competitive in the global market. Take the automotive industry, for example. Several Chinese car manufacturers have established factories in Mexico, producing vehicles not only for the domestic market, but also for export to the US and beyond. These facilities depend on advanced Chinese technology, from machinery to key components necessary for vehicle production. If China were to abruptly pull its investments, Mexico would face significant challenges. Factories would struggle to operate without essential parts or technology, leading to job losses, supply chain disruptions, and cascading effects on other industries reliant on these investments. But it's not just about cars. Chinese investment extends to Mexico's infrastructure. Railways, power plants, telecommunications, and other critical sectors that keep Mexico competitive. Chinese firms are instrumental in building infrastructure that integrates Mexico into the global economy. Without this support, Mexico risks losing its competitive edge, particularly in accessing international markets. So what would Mexico do if China decided to withdraw its investments? It would be a daunting task, requiring Mexico to find alternative partners or become even more reliant on the US market, which may not be a sustainable long-term solution. Clearly, Chinese investments aren't merely advantageous for Mexico, they're indispensable. Enter the USMCA. The USMCA is not just a trade agreement, it's Mexico's lifeline to the US market. Under its provisions, Mexico can export goods tariff-free to the US, provided it meets specific conditions. These conditions include using a certain percentage of North American-made components in products sold across the border. Sounds beneficial, right? But here's the twist. President Trump has repeatedly threatened to impose tariffs on Mexican goods, especially when the US feels shortchanged in trade negotiations. Trump's tariffs on Chinese imports already pose challenges for Mexico, as many of its industries, such as automotive and electronics, rely on Chinese-made components. If Trump escalates tariffs on Chinese goods, it triggers a domino effect, increasing production costs for Mexico and complicating its ability to compete in the US market. The automotive sector, in particular, is at risk. Numerous parts used in Mexican-made vehicles are sourced from China. Should these components face tariffs, production costs in Mexico would soar, jeopardizing the competitiveness of its factories. So what does this mean for Mexico? Before we proceed, are you enjoying this video? If yes, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content on China's global influence and development. Now let's continue. The USMCA offers Mexico tariff-free access to the US market, but only if it adheres to the agreement's terms. Meanwhile, Trump is doing everything possible to make those terms challenging. Mexico's dilemma is to uphold the USMCA while avoiding a trade war with the US simultaneously. If tariffs on Chinese components are imposed, Mexico will need to adapt by diversifying its supply chains or increasing domestic production of these parts. But will these measures suffice to preserve its economic ties with the US? Mexico is maintaining its composure, but let's face it, this is a high-stakes balancing act. On one side, the US applies relentless pressure, while on the other, China remains vital to Mexico's economic longevity. To reassure Chinese investors, Mexico has launched diplomatic efforts to signal that their investments are secure and valued. But how sustainable is this approach? Consider BYD, a Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer expanding into Mexico. The Mexican government is providing incentives to attract companies like BYD. In return, Mexico gains high-tech industries that generate jobs and boost the economy. Mexico is working hard to ensure Chinese companies feel welcome and protected. Moreover, it classifies factories established by Chinese firms in Mexico as domestic entities, ensuring operations remain stable even if US tariffs target Chinese exports. But here's the ultimate question: whose side is Mexico truly on? Mexico's historical ties to the US are undeniable, shaped by trade, geography, and shared history. Yet China's rise presents a new avenue for economic growth and opportunity. Can Mexico navigate this dual allegiance without provoking either superpower? On one hand, Mexico's geographical proximity to the US cements its role in the North American trade bloc. US industries depend heavily on Mexican manufacturing, particularly in sectors like automotive and electronics. On the other hand, China's burgeoning influence cannot be ignored. With initiatives like the Belt and Road, Mexico is positioning itself as a pivotal partner in China's global strategy. The challenge lies in maintaining these relationships without alienating either power. For years, Mexico has tried to balance both sides, but behind closed doors, the narrative may be shifting. Publicly, Mexico appears to be a cooperative partner to both the US and China. Yet there's a growing sense that Mexico might eventually prioritize its relationship with China. After all, balancing geopolitical powers only works when both sides are reasonable. If the US continues to impose tariffs, create disruptions, and make unreasonable demands, Mexico may decide it's time to pivot eastward, towards stability and profitability. Here are the facts. Mexico has been building a deeper relationship with China that extends beyond trade deals. While its reliance on the US is deeply rooted, China offers something the US has struggled to provide: consistency. Unlike the US, which employs tariffs, sanctions, and erratic trade policies, China delivers steady investments, infrastructure projects, and economic diversification. No threats, no uncertainty, just reliable progress. The Mexican government is laying the groundwork for a transformation that could redefine its economic future. Ultimately, Mexico's actions are driven by survival. While the US has been a long-standing partner, its recent behavior has been unpredictable. By aligning itself with China's vision for global trade, Mexico may be realizing it doesn't need the US as much as it once believed. We want to thank you for sharing your thoughts in the comments. Your insights always inspire us. How long can Mexico continue to portray itself as a neutral partner before fully embracing China's influence? Will it shift from its reliance on the US to adopt a more balanced or even China-centric foreign policy? Share your opinions in the comments below. Can Trump's tariffs halt this shift? If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content exploring China's global development and influence. Stay tuned for our next video.